Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to an afternoon edition of Hockey Night in New York, presented by Ownwell. That's right, nothing important going on tonight. We just randomly decided to do a 1 p.m. show today in the afternoon. That's right, welcome. Thank you for joining us here from the great Floored Media in Rockville Center. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Arthur Staple. Arthur, how are you?
A little tired, getting up and out early, but I think I'm the only one here in the studio that's feeling a little groggy, from what I can tell. Right?
No, just you. Definitely not Jay. Definitely not Jay. So thank you all for tuning in live here. Got a great show coming up for you. Going to be talking a little Islanders, a little Olympics, because the Islanders are taking some time off. A little break here.
Yeah.
But before we dive into that, I want to thank our wonderful sponsors, starting with Ownwell. Easy, low cost, effective. Reduce your property taxes at ownwell.com/HNINY. And we are also proud to be sponsored by Razor, Kniff, and Launstein, attorneys at law ready to fight for you. Check them out at razorandkniff.com. That is RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And if you are hanging out with us live in the chat, you want to get your questions in for Questions Brewing, type in Questions Brewing, followed by your question, and we will get to it later in the show. So with that out of the way, Arthur, let's talk about what the Islanders did last week.
You called it, Nostradamus over here. It was an amazing bit of prognostication by you, sitting in these very chairs last weekend.
It's true. It's true. I did predict that they would lose to the Caps. Sorry to be right about that. And then they went on to defeat the Penguins in dramatic fashion and the New Jersey Devils in folly fashion, I would say. Not great fashion.
Drama for a few seconds there.
Yes, for sure.
Good enough.
So that lands them at 32, 21, and 5 with 69 points. Nice. 1 point behind Pittsburgh, 4 ahead of the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Washington Capitals. So we got ourselves a race coming out of the break here. But before we get to that, let's talk about these games a little bit. Monday the 2nd in Washington, 4-1 loss. Not much going on offensively for the Islanders there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And on the Caps' third stringer, still couldn't get anything going. Basically, the only production they got was a gift from Tom Wilson to Matt Barzal.
That was very nice.
Right. It was very nice. I mean, usually he's a mean person.
Rare to see Tom Wilson be so generous.
Right, yeah. Indeed. But he gives one away to Barzal, pots one in front, and then it was the Washington Capitals show from then on out.
Yeah, and it was kind of a disappointing night for David Riddick. I thought that yes. Anthony Beauvillier, kind of the key goal there when it was 1-1, the stuff in from behind the net, not sealing the post, kind of goalie 101. And David Riddick had a really tough run for the last 5 weeks. I'm sure he'll appreciate the break. Checking out my buddy Steve Valiquette's Clearsight Hockey. Riddick, I think from January 1 until the break, 75th out of 81 goalies in terms of goals saved above expectation, which is
not
kind
great.
of a flip from where he was when he really held the fort for the 2 weeks that Sorokin was out around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why he's the number 2. This is why he's the backup. You can't fully rely on him. You want to see him get back to just an acceptable level to kind of hold the guys in games. And when you give up a goal like that, and the Islanders are having trouble scoring, bad combination, probably not going to win those.
Do you think that shifts Naumov's plan going forward with Riddick struggling a little bit, or maybe because of the reset here, they'll kind of go back to what they were originally planning to go?
Well, I'll throw out another number from the schedule coming out of the break. 7 back-to-backs in the last 24 games.
Yeah,
so you're going to see some David
tough.
Riddick. I don't think Ilya Sorokin can just kind of steam to the end here playing 20 or 21. He's going to get maybe one of those back-to-backs, maybe the earliest one that they can get coming right out of the break. You might see him get that after the long layoff. But yeah, you need both goalies just the way they needed them both before the break, and Riddick came through when Sorokin was injured. Didn't come through here in January in his few starts. So hopefully we'll see him rev it back up and be able to just play. You're not going to play the same level as Ilya Sorokin. He's on a different level this year, but you need to be an acceptable level, a level where you can make the saves you need to make, maybe make a couple that you're not expected to make,
Sure.
and the Islanders can score some goals when he's in net.
That would be nice. Hopefully the break serves him well. Moving on to Tuesday, second of back-to-backs here against Pittsburgh. Obviously a big game with them so tight in the standings here. This one had a playoff feel to it. Seesaw battle, lots of goals, back and forth here. Starts off with Mantha, gets the Penguins up 1-0 there. And after that, you get the late goals to go up 2-1 for the Islanders. You have the scrappy goal from Horvat back-to-back with the Schaefer bomb from the point. Islanders are feeling good. Islander fans are feeling good. But the momentum swings back towards Pittsburgh. And a tough game through and through. They get the win in overtime.
Yeah. Speaking of goaltending, thanks to Stuart Skinner, I think, in the Penguins net. It gave a few gifts there, especially the Ryan Pulock tying goal late. That's a goal that should be stopped. Probably the Matthew Barzal goal to make it 3-3, another one that should be stopped, although he did have some of his teammates in front of him. But you take the gifts where you can get them, especially when the Islanders are having trouble scoring goals. And Bo Horvat, scored the one with the bird flying around there in the,
yes,
in the
that's
first
right.
period.
Yeah.
Some good memes from the Islanders off of that one, and then really nice play on the overtime goal too, trying to settle that puck down. Ice was bad, and recognize right away that you're dealing with a goalie who's not feeling very confident. Quick snap up top. And game over.
He got the puck settled just at the right time to let that shot off. Any a millisecond later, and he might have had to stuff it. You know what I mean?
And I think he knew too that someone was right. Kulak was right behind him. He was getting in tight. You're not going to be able to make a forehand backhand type move with the puck bouncing around like that. So better to shoot it quick. He's got a great shot. 2 points.
2 points. And once again, Ryan Pulock scores off a wrist shot.
Yeah,
just want to point that out.
That's right. He had a lot of room there to wind up, but squeezed it through. Good quick shot. Good move by him to kind of jump into that empty space. We saw some defensive breakdowns by the Islanders in that game, and then some defensive breakdowns from the Penguins too. So
the Rust goal ricochets off of D'Angelo's skate.
Yeah. There was a few miscues there. Jonathan Drouin losing his man Justin Brazeau on the 4-3 goal. Penguins took the lead right back there in the third. We can certainly talk about that in a little bit, since we were talking about guys missing defensive assignments.
Yes.
Anthony Duclair ended up being a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
And now Drouin, who's been the subject of a lot of online conversation, none of it positive, has that gaff right there, and then, stays in the lineup for the last game.
Yeah, and I guess that's a decent segue into the last game now that you brought the man's name up. And speaking of gaffes, I mean, he had a terrible giveaway the Jersey game, too, that led to a breakaway. Fortunately, Sorokin was able to thwart it, but that was a bad look for him. Yeah,
and when you're not scoring, I think the Islanders were relying on Drouin. He does play center. He does take faceoffs. He was the number 2 center before Cal Ritchie came back for those 2 games, and then slid over to the wing when Ritchie was kind of a surprise return before the break, which was nice to see because I thought he played really well. But yeah, you can't let the other areas of your game slip when you haven't scored in whatever it is, 34 games. And now back-to-back games where you've seen that slip, and you've seen Patrick Roy punish guys, whether it was Matthew Barzal, Anthony Duclair seems to be the number 1 on his hit list for those mistakes. And Duclair did make a tracking mistake in the Nashville game, where he ended up getting benched after that, and then didn't end up playing those last 2 games before the break, or at least the last one before the break. So you don't want to think that it's treating guys differently, especially guys that have had pretty similar profiles this season too, where they've had a lot of ups and downs. Duclair's produced a little bit more goals, a few more goals. Drouin's got more points, or they're around the same in points, but also seemingly getting the same kind of opportunities, power play, top 6. So we'll see coming out of the break how they feel about Drouin, if everybody's healthy. I think he does have a little bit longer leash than some other guys, and we'll see if it's shortened a bit after the way that he played these last 2.
For sure. And when it comes to Drouin and the fan base, kind of calling for him to come out and kind of groaning about the way he's been playing, I mean, obviously, it doesn't always come down to the numbers that you put on the score sheet. So I just want to get your take on why Patrick Roy is showing Duclair a little more tough love compared to Drouin to this point.
I think it has to do with the chances that they're generating with him on the ice. I think he's overall been a positive player when it comes to that, and I think he's fairly defensively responsible. Those 2 mistakes notwithstanding.
Right.
And I just think he has a little bit more versatility than a Shabunov or a Duclair. He can play center. I think his ability to play center and the fact that he has throughout his career also gives him a little bit more awareness defensively. He's a little bit more fluid about knowing where to be. You don't see him make a lot of those tracking, those kind of, you don't want to call it lazy, but kind of, ill-timed tracking back moves, which you saw from that Barzal line when they were benched at the end of the Buffalo game.
Right.
And you saw from Duclair in the Nashville game. He is an aware guy defensively and away from the puck. The problem is that when they're not scoring, they need guys like him to produce. If you're going to be on the ice, you have to be able, you have to have positive shifts. You have to generate chances. You have to try to convert a couple of your chances. He has missed some incredibly good chances.
Yes, he has.
And it's not just missing. Like he misses the net by a lot. He's
also true.
Whiffing on plays in front of the net where he's wide open alone. Again, if they had scoring on a consistent basis, and if Bo Horvat can get back to the level he's been at, you don't care what Jonathan Drouin does. He just needs to.
True.
He just needs to have a positive impact when he's out there for his 30 or 45 seconds. Or if he's playing on Horvat's wing, he will produce some because he's playing with the hottest player on the team. But when they're not scoring, or when Horvat's been out injured, you look for other guys, and the eyes have definitely been, staring straight at him, and nobody's liking what they're seeing.
No, at the very least, don't do anything negative on the ice. Yeah. I would say that's the bare minimum. We'll set the bar there for now. But hopefully the break does them some good too.
Yes,
because it's going to be tough coming out of it. But so the Islanders get the 3-1 win against the Devils. Not much doing. The Islanders only get 14 shots in that game. A little bit of a snooze fest from them, but they get an opportunistic goal from Casey Cizikas to go up 1-0. The Devils tie it later on. They had the numbers coming back, but D'Angelo kind of got caught watching the puck carrier, lets Hischier kind of drift off there. He gets free of him, and of course the pass comes across from Bratt. He fires it into the net, and if D'Angelo had been paying a little more attention to Hischier, that pass probably doesn't happen, or at least doesn't get through. They tie the game, but you get more late-game heroics from Bo Horvat. He wins that late face-off there, just powers through, slips the puck between Allen's pads, and you get a game-winning goal there right at the end, and, of course, the empty net from Matt Barzal.
I think he actually lost that face-off. This is what I'm talking about when I say face-offs don't matter. He lost the face-off, and they still got a great chance. But yeah, down at the end of that game, 1-1, the Devils are completely in the dumps. Fans have been at their throats all season long, and you're seeing a situation where it's tied. The Islanders are mostly being outplayed, but this is a team that's playing well, or a good team that has had good results this year, versus a bad team, a team that's not gotten the results, even if they are playing well. And we've seen this on the other side countless times as an Islander fan in the mid 2010s, even just a few years ago, when you are a bad team that's having bad results, you will find a way to mess something up in a key situation like that. And it was the Devils this time. It's nice to see it on the other the other side. Hischier wins the draw from Horvat. Kovacevic comes over. The puck kind of hops over his
swipe,
stick, but he moves his body out of position. And my buddy Mike Rupp on our Daily Faceoff show says, center on center. That's what you do as a center in the defensive zone. You have to keep your body between the other center's body and the net. And Hischier just kind of gets caught leaning back a little bit because he's won the draw. He thinks Kovacevic is behind him. He's over here. Puck is over here. Horvat gets to it. Boom. Allen tries to poke check, misses just comedy of errors by the Devils all in the space of 5 seconds, and the Islanders take advantage.
It results in a regulation win, which very well could end up factoring in later on. That's for sure. You look at it, you get 2 out of 3 here. You get 4 points. Not bad. You predicted the 4 points, just maybe not in the fashion.
I did. I didn't get as specific as you. So
right.
And if you had told us exactly how they were going to happen, I think everybody would have breathed a little easier, because those 2 wins were a little bit nerve-wracking.
They were. Both.
You should have given a little bit more information as well.
Listen, I can't give it all away. You got to give people a reason to watch.
It's fair.
Right?
Sure.
So you get some late game heroics from Bo Horvat. Hopefully Clutch Horvat is back. They're going to need him down the stretch. So again, 2 wins out of 3 there. They get a couple points. They stay at 3rd place in the Metropolitan Division, still a point behind Pittsburgh. They got a couple teams breathing down their neck. Hopefully the break serves them well. And before we move on, Cal Ritchie, he came back. You touched on that before. How'd you think he looked?
Really good. Really good. A lot of energy. I think, we had kind of hinted at maybe this lower body injury that had him day to day. They would just sort of say, sit it out. We'll figure things out after the break. But I think it was a smart move to let him get back in now, give them a boost. Like I said, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon his first couple shifts. Yeah. But, he played a smart game. It didn't generate a lot. Nobody in the Islanders generated much. They didn't give up a ton either. They had a couple turnovers. Devils hit a couple of posts. But it really was kind of a low event game.
Right.
And you want guys with a lot of energy playing in those kind of games, and it was good to see him get back in and kind of fill a spot at that number 2 center that if Barzal and Horvat are going to be better together, which it seems that they are, you need to get him some reps there playing against some other teams' top 6 lines, and he got that.
That was my next question. Is he a fit going forward in that 2C spot?
I mean, it's kind of out of necessity now, I would say, because there's really no other good options. You've got Pajot as the number 3, and you've got Casey in number 4, and you've got Horvat at number 1. You can play around with it, but I think when it comes right down to it, you need him there, and you need that line, whoever's with him, to produce. And I'm curious to see how it's going to go. We've seen Patrick Waugh, juggle his lines with incredible regularity.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be, depending on what they do before the trade deadline, if this is going to be the group, you're probably going to see that line. He seems to like the Lee, Pajot, Holmstrom third line. McLean, Suzuki, Gatcomb seems in ink now in that fourth line, and they certainly had a great game against the Devils. Top line, I don't know who'll be with Horvat and Barzal, whether it's Heineman, maybe it's Drouin, maybe it's Duclair. We'll see. Maybe Shabanov gets a look there. But that second line is kind of going to be that one I think that's going to be in flux a lot until they find something that they like. And I think that's a tough assignment for a young guy, not just being your number 2 center to face off against other teams' number 2 centers, but kind of adjust on the fly and play with a lot of different people. So it's going to be a challenge for Cal Ritchie, but I think if he shows he can handle it, goes a long way for this season and goes a long way for future seasons.
For sure. Hopefully he builds off of that encouraging performance against the Devils. And Arthur, let's bring some music into it here. Let's get your anthem. What do you got, man?
Well, since the Islanders are on a bit of a break, I thought I'd go with something a little slower.
Okay.
Song called Breaking the Action by these guys, Czarface, who includes Inspector Deck from the Wu-Tang Clan, one of my all-time favorites. And they do a lot of collaborations, and this one was with the late, great MF Doom from right here in Long Beach, right near us here. And always loved him. Wore the Iron Mask. We've got the Iron Man mask for the Islanders now for their MVP of the game. So I think it all fits. So Breaking the Action. Check it out. MF Doom, rest in peace. One of the greats in the hip hop scene.
I love the deep dives that you're going in with these. You're thinking about it. You're putting some thought into these. Now, are you a Marvel movie guy?
Not so much, but I'm certainly aware.
So I think maybe Edzo will appreciate this. So I see Czarface, and it makes me think of a character from Guardians of the Galaxy, Taserface.
The Czarface guys do
what I'm talking
about, a lot of comic
Taserface is underrated.
Taserface. All right, well, I don't know this song, like many of the songs you brought to the table here, so I am looking forward to going through the entire playlist and hearing what these guys are all about.
I like it.
Okay, well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York, presented by Ownwell. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going on the line. Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest. And Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process. Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York, presented by Ownwell. And speaking of Ownwell, if you own a home in Nassau County, you're always balancing what you want to do with what you can realistically afford. I've been thinking about a few projects around the house. Nothing crazy, just upgrades you put off when costs start adding up. And property taxes are always part of that equation. You're trying to plan ahead, manage expenses, and you're never totally sure if you're paying what you actually should be. That's what I like about Ownwell. They help Nassau homeowners see whether they're overpaying on property taxes, and they handle the whole grievance process for you, start to finish. What really stood out to me is that you don't pay anything unless they actually save you money, which takes a lot of the risk out of it. The setup is quick. I did it myself in just a few minutes online and got an instant savings estimate. After that, they take care of the paperwork, the deadlines, even hearings if needed. So you don't have to spend your time figuring any of that out. If you want to see how much you could save, head to ownwell.com/HNINY. That's OWNWELL.com/HNINY, and you only pay if you save. Ownwell, proud sponsors of the New York Islanders. All right, it is time for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Launstein, ready to fight for you. And today, Arthur, we are putting Matthew Darche on the line.
Makes sense.
So the Islanders in the midst of a playoff race here. Obviously, if they continue in that regard, they are going to potentially be looking to add, maybe to reward this team for being where they are. So let's start by, I want to ask you first what the Islanders' needs are if Darce is going to address any of them.
Well, I think the main need is a young scoring winger. We talked about what they've got at center. You basically got 5 centers on this team right now, and you don't really have a complaint about any of those guys. Horvat, Barzal, Ritchie, Pajot, and Cizikas. Pajot going into free agency. We don't know if he's going to be here next season.
Right.
I certainly don't think they're going to trade him before the deadline.
Agreed.
But even if you lose him, you still got a pretty good group down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
On the wings seems to be where they're lacking. We've seen flashes from Duclair. We know he's signed for a couple more years. We've seen flashes from Simon Holmstrom. We'd love to see a little bit more from him. Anders Lee's kind of gone cold. Drouin, we talked about, he's gone completely cold. Emil Heineman, hot start to the season. We've seen flashes lately, but not enough. Shabanov in and out of the lineup. So really that cast of wingers could use a boost. Andre Palat, I think, is a good add, but really he kind of fits in with that group of not a dynamic scorer, not a game breaker, not a guy that you can put alongside Horvat or Barzal or both of them and say, this is our top line, this is our trigger man on the power play, this is the guy that our offense is going to run through besides Bo Horvat. So if you can use some of the assets that the Islanders have, the Colorado draft pick, their extra draft pick, that's probably going to be in the 20s, late 20s or early 30s. One of their prospects, I've thrown out Cole Yzerman. He is a scorer, but we're going to be waiting a few years to see him at the NHL level. And we don't really know what he's going to be. I think if you can find a team that's out of it, that's looking to retool or rebuild, maybe you have somebody who's in their 20s, who's looking for a change of scenery, has some term on their contract, has a track record of scoring goals, has a track record of being a good power play scorer. That's a pretty specific ask, and there's not many guys out there like that. But you could make a list, I think, of maybe a half a dozen guys, and I'm sure Matthew Darche has done that already, and he's probably been in contact with those teams and said, what will it take? And now we're kind of in that period of making the decision. Would you pay the huge cost, a first-round pick, Cole Yzerman, maybe even a third asset to acquire a player like that?
For sure. And given the position that the Islanders are in here, I mean, look, they're in a playoff spot, but we know it's kind of volatile, right? You have the Jackets and the Caps 4 points behind. And, let's say they even fall out of the Metro 2-3 position here. They're going to have a tough go of it if they fall into that wild card race. So you have a bunch of teams there from the Atlantic. We have Boston. Montreal's kind of in there as well. You kind of have Toronto nipping at the heels there if they can put a couple of wins together, right? So it's not going to be easy for them to even guarantee a playoff spot at this point. So with that in mind, what's the best approach for Darche here? Is it waiting it out, just getting as close to the deadline as possible before pulling the trigger on a move? Or do you not mind him doing something early to kind of maybe help pad what they're doing in the early going?
I think for him, the decision is, are we going to trade one of our prospects? And if he says Cole Yzerman is completely off limits, we're not doing that, then I think that limits what you're going to do, because I would guess, without having talked to anybody, that Keishon Aitchison and Victor Eklund are off limits. I don't know if Daniil Prokhorov is a guy who would move the needle like that, because he seems to be pretty far away from being an NHL player. Yeah. And then you've got guys like Danny Nelson and Quinn Finley, who are really good college players, but are already into their 20s. So probably not as enticing prospect-wise, and maybe not guys that you can project to be top 6 NHL players. They could certainly be, but not right now. So I think that's why you kind of land on Yzerman. That to me, a first-round pick and one of your top prospects, a guy who's a really good scorer, high-energy guy. That's the kind of package you can start to put together to entice people. If Matthew Darche says, no way, we are not trading Cole Yzerman, then I think if you just have your first-round pick and maybe kind of a more of a depth B-level, C-level prospect to go with it, then you're adjusting, you're setting your sights on something different. You're looking more for rental or a guy maybe with another year left on his deal. You're not looking at a Jordan Kyrou from St. Louis, or maybe a Brock Besser from Vancouver.
Okay.
Who guys who have a long way to go on their contracts, who can choose where they go because they have no move clauses, and maybe both of their teams are kind of headed in the wrong direction. I think if you're talking more a late first, or just the late first and nothing else, then maybe you're looking at like Cole Perfetti from Winnipeg, who's a guy who's had some good moments but hasn't really flashed completely. I would think it would take a lot even more than Yzerman and a first for a guy like Shane Pinto to bring him back home to Long Island from Ottawa. Ottawa seems to be in buy mode. I don't really understand what they're doing at the moment,
right?
But,
I
think you're looking at that very small group of teams: Winnipeg, Vancouver, St. Louis. Teams that are out of it, that that have some guys in those situations that would appeal to you, where you've got guys that can grow into your team and are not just there for a year or two. Obviously in the East, the Devils and the Rangers seem to be the two teams that have kind of hit sell mode, but I think the Rangers sold the most appealing guy already. And
they did, yes.
That could help the Islanders' offense. So I don't know that there's anybody that would be a good match for them on the Rangers roster, even though they did just make this deal for Carson Soucy.
Right.
And the Devils, they made the Palat deal. If you could put a package together for a guy like Dawson Mercer, maybe you'd do that. But he's not another guy where you're kind of like, is that enough? Does he do enough to really put us in a position where we want to sell that much?
Now that the Islanders have made them sellers.
They made them both sellers, yeah.
Yes, they did. So Darsh is kind of in an interesting position here, right? Because, you talk to anybody in Islander land right now, and nobody's expecting the Islanders to go on a cup run, right? But we speak to Justin Bourne last week, and he's like, hey, they got the best goalie in the world. It's kind of all open in the East, right? Yeah. Anything can happen in the playoffs. And he seemed to think that this is a year for the Islanders to go for, right? If there's somebody on the table to go out and get that's going to help this team, maybe not just this year, but also in the future, you go for it. So I guess I want to ask you, with all of that in mind, if Darsh is saying, obviously he's never going to say this public, but if he's going to say to himself internally, like, hey, look, this probably isn't our year to go all the way. So does he kind of put some internal restrictions? Because you talk about guys who maybe might not be touchable for the Islanders, whether that's Aitchison, Eklund. So he kind of has to thread a needle here if he wants to add to the team, where he's keeping the long-term in mind, right? Where he doesn't want to sacrifice some big name prospects like that. Probably doesn't want to give up both first round draft picks, right? Like, so there's probably a middle ground where, if he can find one of 31 teams that'll deal with him, right? It's got to be for the right guy, and it's got to be for the right package going the other way, where he's really not handcuffing himself for the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done that with the two moves that he made already. Carson Soucy, pending free agent. He's your number 6 defenseman right now, number 5, 6 defenseman, and he's been fine in that role. I don't know that he's a guy that you'd look to extend.
Yeah.
And Andre Palat, you have him for another year. He's certainly a good guy in the room, but again, he's not going to be blocking anybody's path to playing on the top power play unit or in the top 6. He's there now, but I think if they acquired somebody on the left side, he would certainly bump down, or if things needed to change. And they didn't really, they gave up a 3rd-round pick for Soucy. They got the 3rd-round pick back from Jersey to take Palat's contract. They gave up Max Siplikov, who's got a year left and wasn't really in figured in their plans. So, these are easy. I wouldn't say easy, but they are easier moves to make than kind of what he's charged with doing. And that doesn't preclude them from deciding on March 6th at 2:45, when he's been talking to all these teams, that, okay, the big deal isn't going to materialize. Let's make a smaller deal. There are guys out there. Gus Nyquist is on Winnipeg, and he's a pending free agent, guy who's bounced around a lot in the league but has produced. Tanner Pearson doesn't really get into the lineup anymore with Winnipeg. He's a former 20-goal scorer. He's been around plenty out west. So there are guys that you can add, but they have guys, that's kind of those capital G guys.
Yeah.
And they're not producing here. So adding another guy to the mix, to me, doesn't really put you over the edge, doesn't really guarantee you a playoff spot, doesn't really energize the fan base and say, this guy's going to be here for another 3 or 4 years, and he's going to be our 30-goal scorer. He's going to be the guy that lights it up and is a guy that fans really get into and will improve our power play, which needs improvement in the worst way.
Yes.
I
saw a Fire Bennett on Twitter this past week, and I was like, of course.
I just feel like, they could end up making another short-term move just to see if they're changing the mix works. But to my mind, what I think Matthew Darsh is working on, and kind of what he hinted at when he spoke after the Palat trade, that said, I come from Tampa, where Julien Brisebois, you look at the moves that the Lightning made when they were in their championship window. They didn't care about those first-round picks that were late in the first round. They cared about winning Stanley Cups. So, again, we don't know that the Islanders are there.
Right.
But I think with the right move, you could say, oh, maybe they are there. Maybe they're not just there for this year.
Right.
But they're taking advantage of Ilya Sorokin playing at this incredibly high level, of Matthew Schaefer also playing at this high level and being on his entry-level contract where you're not worried about salary cap situations, and whoever you're getting is a guy you know what you're penciling in his salary cap hit for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 years, and you can at least you know what you're working with going into the summer.
Maybe they can pull off like a Ryan Smith shocker. And then just tell Ilya Sorokin not to skate out to the blue line and challenge a puck against the Canadians. But to reel it back in a little bit, what I want to end on, a little two-parter here. Let's say you're the special advisor to the general manager. And with all the elements we just talked about in mind, what are you advising Darsh to do between now and the deadline? And secondly, what do you ultimately think he's going to do?
I think it's a tough call. I keep mentioning Cole Eiserman's name, and you don't get any pushback. I haven't heard from anybody around the league that he's available, but he is sort of the natural one to me. That if Darsh has a chance to make a splash, that's probably the guy to me you'd part with. And for the reasons I said, Darsh did not draft him. Lou Lamoriello did. So, you look at these guys a little bit differently. And they, I think it's just human nature to feel that they're a little bit more expendable because you didn't put in the work to pick them and monitor them the first year out of their draft year. So, if it's in that situation, I would say go for it. I think Cole Eiserman is a guy who, BU is having a tough year this year. He's been injured. I think that certainly affected him, so that's certainly an explanation for why he's having such a tough year, but it still factors into his development. So if he's set back a year and he either spends another year in college next year or he's fully in the AHL next year, you're looking at a timeline where that doesn't quite match up with the things that we talked about before that are going so well for the Islanders. Sorokin, Schaefer, Bo Horvat playing at a really high level too. So here's your chance to kind of do some remaking on the fly in the middle of a season. And again, like you said, reward the team, but also you're rewarding the organization. You're saying, we're in a different place than I thought we were 4 months ago when I took this job, 5 months ago when I took this job. We're further along. And so we need to kind of expedite things, and waiting 2 or 3 years for Cole Eiserman versus, Jordan Kyrou is the name I throw out the most. And St. Louis is such a volatile situation. They've been threatening to blow it up for years, and it hasn't happened. And Jordan Kyrou has a full no move. He's having a terrible year, but I still think he's the most proven guy. I think you look at Vancouver, Brock Besser, a couple of years older than Kyrou. Would you take him? Also has had some injury issues and is maybe not the best 5-on-5 player, but he is a rock solid character guy, and he's got a great shot, and he's a good on the power play. He's got a long time to go in his contract too. Right. So, Jake DeBrusk has another lengthy contract in Vancouver. This guy who scored a lot throughout his career. Again, probably a little bit older maybe than you'd like. So, I would advocate going for it if I was advising Darsh. And you still need someone to say yes to the deal that you offer. Right. And we've run up against that a lot as Islander fans, whether it's with Lou, standing too pat or whoever it's been. I don't think that that's going to happen, honestly. I don't know that they're going to be able to complete a deal like that. If they do, I think it would be a really pleasant surprise. I'd be curious to see if it's not one of the guys that have kind of on this list, like, could be a Ryan Smith out of nowhere type deal. Right. So I'd imagine that if they do add another guy, it'll be on the order of more of a rental, like a Gus Nyquist, somebody like that, who you can try to plug in, try to help you power play. Not going to move the needle, I think. But I think even at that, you are still saying to the guys, we're bringing in some help, but really it's on you. And talking mostly to those top 9 forwards who need to produce more on the power play, who need to be better offensively at 5-on-5, and just need to kind of come through a little bit more in the support roles beyond Horvat, beyond Barzal, beyond Schaefer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I ultimately think that they would do something like that, if anything at all, because it kind of strikes that balance between rewarding the team, giving them a little padding here to help them with the stretch run and go into the playoffs. And also, you're not sacrificing too much of the future that he's looking to build to, right? Yeah. So that's probably where we're looking. Yeah. But great stuff either way. That will do it for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, ready to fight when your good name is on the line. We're going to take one more break. When we come back, we're going What's on Tap.
Representation, it's not always easy to know where to turn. But whether you've been accused of a crime or need to go to court, Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, have you covered with over 100 years of combined experience. With offices in Manhattan, Mineola, and Suffolk, Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein is an award-winning law firm specializing in criminal defense, with additional expertise in business debt settlement, trust and estates, personal injury, and more. At Razor, Kniffen, Lowenstein, you'll have direct access to your attorney 24/7. Because more attentive service translates to better outcomes. You deserve legal representatives with national recognition and a strong track record of delivering results. And Razor, Kniffen, Lowenstein are ready to fight for you. Call 212-LAW-1500 or go to razorandkniff.com to schedule a free, no-risk consultation today. That's RAISERANDKENNIFF.com. Razor, Kniffen, Lowenstein. We win cases because we make your problems our problems.
Hope you enjoyed the ads. Now let's get back to Hockey Night in New York.
Yes, let's get back to Hockey Night in New York, presented by Ownwell. And now it's time to go what's on tap, but we're switching up because the Islanders are taking some time off, so we are doing the Olympic edition of Arthur, will you be watching?
Oh, of course. What else is there? I love the Winter Olympics. It's always fun to see. It's not quite like the Summer Olympics. It doesn't feel like the big countries dominate, so you're watching some of these, snowboarding or things where you find athletes from other countries that aren't always at the top of the rankings.
True.
But for hockey, yeah, it's awesome.
So now you more of a winter guy over summer?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and the hockey bias comes through for me.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at what Team USA is going to do this week, right? They got 3 games coming up, the preliminary round, and it's funny, these group stage games, they don't really matter for anything other than just seeding. Like, nobody gets bounced out.
That's true.
Yeah, you get a lock into the quarterfinal playoff. But other than that, even if you lose all your games, you're still in it.
Yeah.
So let's start.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. So let's start with Thursday, the 12th. USA plays Team Latvia at 3:10 p.m. Actually, yeah, because of the time difference, we got some weird, funky afternoon games. So unless you're taking off from work, you're probably going to miss these ones. But Team Latvia has about 6 NHLers. Merzlikin's in there from Columbus. Got a couple guys from Florida. Silovs from Pittsburgh. Zemgus Girgensson from Tampa Bay.
Don't forget their number 3 goalie, former Islander farmhand Kristers Gudlevskis.
Is that right?
Still hanging around.
Look at that. So, listen, I don't expect you to have the book here on Team Latvia, but you look at actually this whole trek in this first week. They got Latvia, Denmark, and Germany. Germany will probably be tough there, the crescendo. But these are games that obviously Team USA should win.
They should.
Yeah, should being the operative word.
They should. They should. And I feel like Denmark, I think, is going to be, they've got Freddie Anderson. They've got if they've got a real goalie, and I think Artur Shilov's, Merzlikins is not having a great year, but Shilov's has actually been okay for the Penguins. I feel like this is the year when we're going to see whether it's Czechia with Lukas Dostal, Latvia, and I know that Latvia kind of threw a scare into, I think it was Canada back in the day, and it was Gudlevskis that did it. Germany, Philipp Grubauer has been having a great year in Seattle. I think this is going to be the year that one of those secondary countries kind of goes on a little bit of a heater. It just feels like we're going into this tournament. The U.S. team, there was lots of controversy about leaving off Jason Robertson and Cole Caulfield in favor of guys like JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck. I think all the injury issues, especially with Canada, they've got a couple of injury replacements. They've got some guys that are banged up. The U.S. has some guys that are banged up. It just has that feeling that, like, I don't know if this is going to be U.S. and Canada steamrolling everybody this year. Just a feeling I have, just because of the way the season's gone already.
Okay, so Denmark, 7 NHLers. That's on Saturday on Valentine's Day.
Feel bad for the Islanders legend Frans Nielsen. Could have been his year.
I was gonna bring him up. Like, did they have the depth to maybe justify bringing him in as a 40-something? Right?
Maybe just
for the shootouts,
just the shootout specialist. Maybe he's the shootout coach for the Danes.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to just put him at the end of the bench for the game, and if and when they get to a shootout, just roll him out there.
They could sneak him in.
Well, too bad. But they got Freddie Anderson. You brought him with the obvious of Ehlers from Carolina, Lars Eller, and Sogard from Ottawa, Bjorkstrand from Tampa Bay. So again, a couple NHLers. No, not terrible, but again, a team that isn't filled with NHLers. So if the USA is serious about winning gold, this is another team they should beat.
Yeah, and I feel like the one thing that that the U.S. has going for it that Billy Guerin really accentuated was the continuity from the Four Nations. You've got guys that have been together. Obviously, that wasn't like a ton of practice time and hangout time at that Four Nations. But now you've got familiarity. You've got guys that know each other. You've got D pairs that have played together. You've got lines that you've had together before. You've got the same coaching staff with Mike Sullivan and David Quinn and John Tortorella and John Hines. So I think the familiarity part will allow them to hit the ground running, because you sometimes see that first game when it's the Olympics way back in the day where guys didn't really get a lot of time to be together in between the tournaments, and suddenly you go out and everybody's kind of going this direction and that direction, and you've got a team like Denmark, like Latvia, where most of those guys do have a lot of international experience together because it's a very small group of guys that are good enough to play at that level, whether it's world championships or things like that. And suddenly that you're like, whoa, like, weren't we supposed to kill these guys? And so I think the U.S. will be good in those first two games. Germany, for me, is kind of the one where I'm keeping my eye, because I'm sure you get to it. Obviously, have Leon Draisaitl.
Heard of him, yeah.
They have Philipp Grubauer. And they have Moritz Seider. You know, they have guys in spots where you're like, okay, this is a legit team right here.
For sure. And that's the big one this week for multiple reasons. Sunday the 15th versus Germany. That's another 3:10 puck drop. And we will be there at Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach. You won't, unfortunately.
Not me, unfortunately, but I will be watching the game and also the show.
You better. You better, MFer.
I'll be paying
attention. Speaking of MFers. But, yeah, big one there. We're going to be hanging out at Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach. We're going to have the pregame show at 2 o'clock. Puck drops at 3:10. Jake the Snake Radonis will be there. Edzo will be there. Going to be a lot of fun. We got our pals from the Rangers Ed podcast hanging out with us as well. This is one of the few times where Islander fans and Ranger fans can come together in unity.
Join forces. Although, even though there's no Islanders on the U.S. team.
No,
we can still claim Brock Nelson, I think.
You know what? That's exactly what we're going to do.
So
we're going to claim Brock Nelson.
Counts.
We're taking him back. We're taking him back for that day. But going to be a lot of fun. People coming out, giveaways, prizes, all that stuff. Specials, of course, drinking food specials. So Borelli's is going to be a lot of fun. Once again, 2 o'clock show from us. 3:10 puck drop for the game, U.S. versus Germany. And yeah, you already rattled off the big names for the Germans. And this is a team that could probably give the U.S. a little bit of a hassle.
Yeah. And again, you get through the round robin stage, you know, seeding, whatever it is, you probably want to be in a good spot because, you know, you've got Canada, you've got Sweden, you've got Finland. You probably don't want to face one of them in the quarterfinals right off the hop. So, so get yourself to a good spot and get the easiest route you can. Yeah,
and I guess it's because of they must have seeded this going into it. I haven't looked at the format. I know we're going to talk to Jake a little bit more about the Olympic format and stuff, but they have 3 groups. And they pretty much set it up so that Canada, U.S., and one of Finland and Sweden can kind of come out of the group stage on top and book themselves a trip to the quarterfinals and avoid, you know, playing each other. Save that for the later rounds, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you probably got those, you know, those 3, and Sweden are the 4 main teams, but Germany's, you know, I'm curious to see how they come out of that group and where they slot in, and, you know, obviously, fingers crossed, Canada stumbles and you get that Canada-Germany quarterfinal.
That'd be great.
Throw a scare into them.
Absolutely.
Right off the hop.
For sure.
We've seen from the World Juniors, Canada doesn't do very well when they're under pressure in those quarterfinal rounds.
What a shame that is. What a shame that is. All right, so that's your Team USA Olympic edition of What's on Tap. And now we're going to move it on to Hero of the Week. That's right, folks. It is time for Hero of the Week, presented by Ownwell. Reduce your property taxes with Ownwell. So, Arthur, I went first last week, so I am going to turn it back over to you. What do you got?
I'm going to go Matthew Barzal this week.
Okay.
Goals in all 3 games. Okay. Obviously, you know, empty netter kind of capped off the Devils game. Stuart Skinner helped him out with that goal, that 50-footer from the top of the key there.
Yep.
And certainly Tom Wilson helped him out, but
very much so.
The most important thing is we're seeing him score goals. He's up to, I think it's 16 now for the season. On pace for 22, 23, which is kind of like been his maximum, really, that he's gotten it at the NHL level.
Yeah.
But that's what you need to see. This is not a team that we just did a whole segment about. They need a scorer. Well, Matthew Barzal is playing on the wing and he's scoring goals. So if he can continue to do that, playing with Horvat, you've got 2 guys that are producing at that level. Hopefully brings the level up. And even if you don't bring the level up, you've got guys that you can rely on to score goals. And I think seeing him shoot the puck more, seeing him attack more, it's not really helped the power play, but at least at 5-on-5, He's producing, and to see him out there killing the 5-on-6 at the end of the game, not always a spot we see Matthew Barzal.
Sure.
He doesn't have a ton of empty net goals to his credit, and I think that's a nice reward for the way that he's been playing since the benching against Buffalo, and it was good to see Patrick Roy put him out there. It was a long stretch with the empty net against Jersey. Kind of stuck with it, got the goal, sealed that game. So I'll give it to him for my hero this week.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice, and I'm going to bang this drum from now until eternity. Matt Barzal has to shoot the puck more. I know I've said it before on the show, but when he shoots, good things happen.
Yeah, you're right.
And just to keep it on him for a moment, do you feel like he's ragging the puck a little more than usual these days? You know, even on the power play a little bit. I feel like maybe he's hanging on to it just a bit more. And we've seen that that's led to some turnovers recently, particularly on the power play. He's been coughing some pucks up at the blue line. They've been leading to scoring chances going the other way. I mean, now I'm kind of like shoot more, but also maybe dish a little quicker as well. You know,
I think there's still some power play, meshing issues between him and Schaefer. I think they, Schaefer's really good at releasing pucks to the net, but I think there's a little bit of deferring to Barzal at the moment that you don't really want to see that. You want to see Schaefer has so much confidence in his game in all other areas. You'd like to see him attack more and force the group to attack more, kind of shrink that little diamond down where you're attacking the net. You've got guys around the net.
Yes.
I think they're really hurt by Kyle Palmieri not being out there because he is a guy, not only is a good net front presence, but he just funnels pucks to the net.
Yep.
He'll shoot from anywhere and try to, and he's not doing it to score most of the time. He's trying to generate rebounds. He's trying to bring guys closer to the net. Barzal likes to try to kind of do his thing in space. There's just not a lot of space. If there's anything that's happened in Matthew Barzal's time in the NHL outside of that first year when their power play was lethal and the rest of the game was terrible, in 17-18.
Right.
They've been so bad on the power play, I think, because everybody knows he wants to handle the puck.
Yeah.
So I think they've got to figure out a new way to kind of approach that. Because yes, the game against Pittsburgh, he did a lot of good stuff.
Right.
He was exciting for both teams when he was on the ice in that
That's
game.
a good way to put it. Yeah. For sure. All right, so moving on to mine, I went with the obvious choice, Bo Horvat here. We got clutch Bo Horvat this week. We needed to see that back. Both game-winning goals, 2 goals and an assist versus Pittsburgh, a goal and an assist versus Jersey, 5 points for the week. And, this is the Bo Horvat that they need come in right at the right time because they're going to have to rely heavily on him, especially, again, because they're hurting for scoring here, and he's the lead guy in that regard. So they need him to kind of take this team on his back a little bit here and score some goals from here on out. And hopefully, he can continue this pace because he came back and he was kind of a little snake bit. He was kind of looking like Bo Horvat of like seasons past where gets a lot of opportunities. The puck ends up in the goalie's chest or it goes a little bit wide. And this year, he'd been on point. He was just finding every corner of the net to put the puck in. But when he came back from this injury, I was like, oh no, it's looking like he's back to his old habits. But this week was encouraging. Hopefully he can continue off of that and we get a lot of goals from him for the stretch here.
Well, let's see him score a lot of goals for Canada and they fall just short in every game.
Yes.
Lead the tournament in goal scoring. And Canada goes out in the quarterfinals.
That sounds perfect to me.
Sorry,
do you think he's going to get in a lot here?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think he does enough.
Okay.
He's such a versatile player. Like, he doesn't need to be scoring goals. Obviously, we know he can. But it's incredible to see a guy who's the Islanders' number 1 center, and it's an unquestioned number 1 center. And he's also a guy on a good team like Team Canada, laden with stars, where you're like, oh, he could be the 4C here. He'll go out and take some D-zone draws, be a good checking center, kill some penalties. Like, he does enough that I think he'll get in plenty.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully we'll see him lining up in some faceoffs against Brock Nelson at some point in a gold medal game. That would be nice. All right, folks, that is going to do it for Hero of the Week presented by Ownwell. Easy, low cost, and effective. And now we're going to take it to the Snake Den.
Welcome to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Redonis.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the second week in a row, we're going back to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Redonis. You look like you are ready for football, pal.
I am ready for football. I got my OCU Manure jersey on, my favorite player growing up.
Okay.
Also paying some homage here to the Patriots wearing their father's jerseys. So
Ooh,
nice. And how old is that hat?
1991. Guess
how
what?
many?
We're going to tie in Buffalo here because this is the Super Bowl.
Of course you are.
That's the wide right.
Now,
this is wide right. This
how
is
many
Giants
times
over
have you had to run that through the washing machine?
Plenty. Yes, this is actually from my grandpa.
Bleach?
Yeah, a lot of bleach.
OxyClean?
My grandpa was at the game, handed me down this hat. But yeah, definitely probably got to go through a couple more times.
All right. So take us through the snake then here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, well, Olympics. I know we started talking about it. Some big news for the women.
What do we got?
Hillary Knight tied the all-time record for Olympic goals.
Hey.
14 yesterday.
Nice.
Had a chance to break it. I think she will this tournament. 36 now. I can't believe that. She's that old now, but still scoring at a bit.
And they wrecked Finland yesterday. 5-0.
Yeah, 5-0. They're looking good. They have a good chance to win the gold this year.
Sure,
so that'll be nice to see. But she tied Katie King and Natalie Darwitz. So it's nice to see the women's doing well.
Awesome.
And then we got the men starting this week, which is very exciting. We do. So wanted to talk a little bit about how that's going to work. So they're doing the 3-2-1 system, which I know a lot of fans would like with points.
I'm for that.
Yeah.
Keep
waiting on that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming, but we'll get to see it at least in Olympic fashion. So 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime win or a shootout win, 1 point if you lose an overtime or the shootout, and then 0, nada for not getting anything done there.
Okay.
And then, so if you win your group, you get a bye to the quarterfinals. Every team makes the knockout stage, like you were mentioning before.
Yep.
So you win your group or you come in second place, you get to skip that knockout stage, just go right to the quarters, which I think we should see U.S. do. Arthur mentioned Germany. I think those will be probably the two from their group who do that. And so I wanted to also bring up, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Nino Niederreiter was the flag bearer for Switzerland.
Nice.
So it's nice to see some Isles, former Isles.
Sure.
Get some love out there. I'm very excited for this Olympics. It's, seeing Bo be able to play this year too is going to be awesome. Hope he doesn't win gold, obviously.
No,
but
silver's fine.
It's
maybe
it's something that people grow up and they want to represent their country. And I'm glad that hockey's back in the Olympics. It's been far too long. 12 years is way too long to wait. Hopefully the golden goal, if it happens this year, happens for the U.S.
Yeah.
But very, very excited for the Olympics. I think U.S. does have a good shot, but I do like Arthur's point. I didn't even think about that, about some of those other countries maybe sneaking in there and making some noise this year. Germany is definitely someone to watch out for with Leon Draisaitl.
For sure. So, and now the overtime format, right? Did you get a chance to look at that? Because that's interesting.
Yes. Okay. So it is 3-on-3 with a shootout in the regular games, just like the NHL, 5 minutes. Once you get over to the knockout stage, actually the quarters and the semis, that's a 10-minute 3-on-3 and then a shootout. Okay. That's a lot of hockey. And get this.
A lot of ground to cover.
You get to the medal games, 3-on-3 sudden death.
Okay.
That's a little too much in my opinion.
Ooh.
Big thumbs down. You hear players talk about it all the time, about when people bring up, should it be a little bit longer than 5 minutes in the NHL?
Yeah.
They're like, no way. We're gassed.
Yeah.
They're playing a full 60 and then you got to go out there and you're not seeing fourth liners out there usually during overtime.
Yeah, you're gonna see some, I hope not, but you're going to see some weird combinations.
Right.
Yeah. Like double overtime 3-on-3.
You can't run Nathan McKinnon out there for Canada for 10 minutes.
I'm sure he'll want to.
He'll want to, but
yeah, and I'm sure all the general managers are going to be pulling their hair out if it gets to that too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they'll probably throw something on the ice in the last 2 minutes of regulation and be like, all right, well, that's a penalty shot. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised and disappointed that at the very least for the medal games that they're not doing 5-on-5 overtime.
Even 4-on-4 like they did, in 2010.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you got to have some sort of compromise there. I don't really applaud that.
I kind of hate it, Jake.
I kind of hate it too. I think 4-on-4 would have been the sweet spot for the medal games. Like if you're going to do the 3-on-3, you're going to do the 10 minutes, whatever. I don't think that's still a lot of hockey.
Yeah.
I think their idea is that these games are not going to even get close to that point. But these are professional athletes trying to win something for their country.
Yeah.
They're not, it could go 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And I mean, you're just going to have guys gassed. General managers, like you said, probably are not happy about that too. I mean, we don't want to see Bo getting ran to the ground. I mean, I also don't think he's probably your first choice.
Get too many shifts in the 3-on-3.
That's fair.
But,
fair.
We know he's good at it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's weird. I'm not a fan personally. Another point with the Olympics, I would have loved Schaefer to go, not to play, just to be around the guys and get the experience. Sure. I was actually talking with a buddy last night, and we forget he's 18 years old. He played 17 games last year. He's playing way more hockey than he ever has in his life this year. It's going to be good for him to get that break, but I would have liked to see him be around a Sidney Crosby, a Connor McDavid, and sure, he'll have the chance to probably play with McDavid next Olympics, but, it would have been just nice to have him there with the team.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, did you have anything else for us on that front?
On the Olympics, no.
Okay, so then let's get into predictions. Who's winning gold, silver, and bronze?
U.S. is winning gold.
Of course. Of course. Yes.
They're going to
correct
beat
answer.
Sweden in the gold medal game.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Silver, and then bronze, whatever. We'll give the Habs it. We'll give the Canadians it.
Well, I'm pretty sure that, and this isn't true, but like I'm pretty sure that like Finland is in every bronze medal game since the history of time. Like I just feel like they're always
really consistent.
Yes.
Consistent.
So it'll probably be Canada, Finland if we're going by your metrics. For the bronze medal. Arthur, do you have any predictions here?
I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to say it's going to be the U.S. over the Czechs.
Hey,
in the gold
all
medal
right.
game. Like I said, I'm riding the hot goalie theory. So I'm going to say Lucas Dostal gets the Czechs all the way to the gold medal game. U.S. pulls it out, and then I'll give Canada the bronze over Sweden.
Okay, fair enough. Now, do you consider the Czechs one of those, unexpected dark horse teams, or like
it's a good group?
Yeah,
they're a country that, as far as the Four Nations goes, I don't know that they got a lot of consideration to be in that, but they have just as much of a right as Finland. It's a team that's got maybe 2 or 3 spots where they don't have NHL guys, but they've got a pretty good, David Pastrnak, who was the Czech flag bearer in the opening ceremonies, obviously one of the best players in the world. And Dostal, I think, we don't see him play that much. He's he's a West Coast guy, but to me, he's a guy young, got a lot of energy. I do have a lot of hesitation about the goaltending for both the U.S. and Canada.
Sure.
I don't know who the U.S. starter is going to be. Connor Hellebuck is having an okay year. Winnipeg is having a really down year.
Yes.
Jake Ottinger is not having a great year, and certainly hasn't been great lately for Dallas. Jeremy Swayman's been pretty good, but in Canada, I think is an even tougher spot. Logan Thompson's having a good year, but if it's Jordan Binnington's net, he's been one of the 2 worst goalies in the league all year. Him and Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some goalie rotations we're going to see with the big boys there.
Yeah.
And I think the Czechs, you get a guy who gets in a groove like Dostal, Germany with Grubauer, Finland maybe with a guy like Kevin Lankinen. I think one of those countries could really surprise. Sweden too, I think is going to have a little bit of trouble. I wonder if Philip Gustafsson is going to be able to hold the fort. They do have Jesper Wallstedt there, who's Gustafsson's goalie partner in Mini and had a really good rookie season. But again, like when you're looking for teams and because I don't think the ice is NHL size, so it's not that bigger ice where guys are going to
Is it 4 feet shorter?
Right. It's actually shorter than NHL ice.
Right.
But I just feel like some of these games you need your goalie to steal games for those lesser countries, and I feel like they can get in a groove really well there. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I could be totally wrong, but that's just my feeling.
Yeah, Jake. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping for the U.S.-Canada final. We all want that, right? Because that's where the drama is. That's where the fun's going to be. So I'm hoping for a U.S. win against Canada in the final. But like, I really do like Sweden. I can see them getting to the final as well. So I'm going to say, I hate to say it, but I'm thinking like a Sweden-Canada final for the gold. No
faith. I hope you're way more wrong about this than you were about this.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Listen. I just feel like Bill Guerin is playing with fire with the choices that he made.
Fair.
And I know he's trying to Herb Brooks this, with the right guys over the best guys. And listen, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I'll give him all the credit in the world if it all works out and they win gold. But I'm just a little nervous. You bring up the goaltending as well, and Canada's a machine. Maybe you're right. Maybe they'll falter in the quarterfinals as they have in the past. But I have a feeling that the U.S. is going to be fighting for bronze. I hope I'm wrong. But we shall see. But either way, I love the best on best international hockey. I'm totally stoked for it. I'm excited for it. So hopefully the U.S. pulls something out here because they are due.
They are so due.
Yeah. That is for sure. Maybe a baby miracle.
Yeah,
on ice here.
Did you guys get a chance to check out that new doc they dropped?
No. How was it?
I actually didn't either, but I've heard great things. I thought it was just you brought up Herb Brooks.
Maybe we'll have a Hockey Night in New York watch party.
Yeah, I think we should. But I've heard phenomenal things about it. So
I've heard it's good.
All right, well, that will do it for the Snake Den. Jake, thank you very much. Oh, did you have a trivia question?
I did have a trivia question.
Excuse me.
We were talking about Czechia before.
Okay.
Well, we have 2 Olympians representing the Islanders this year.
That's right.
Because of Palat.
They snuck an extra one in there at the end.
Speaking of Czechia, which Isle in 1998, they played for the Islanders this year, represented Czechia? Was it Roman Hamrlik, Radek Martinek, Rob Reichel, or David Volek?
I think I know the answer to this one. Can I answer first, or do you want to give it a shot?
I want to give it a shot because you seem confident.
I do, but I could be wrong.
Let me also, might have worded this a little bit wrong in the chat because there may be 2 people who did play for Czechia, but one was an Islander that year.
He was an Islander at the time.
At the time, yes.
Okay, so I do think I have this one.
98.
Yeah, I'm going to say Robert Reichel.
Yeah, that's
You're
my
right.
guess.
Yes. So my apologies in the chat. I didn't preface that the right way, but yes, that would be right. Roman Hammerlich was also there, but he was not
an Islander at the time.
Yes.
He was a begrudging Islander later.
He was,
around
yes.
2000, 2001. Yes. Was there a poll as well?
There was. Ed, how was that poll going? Did you get any answers?
I don't see the poll on here, but
right.
there is
we'll
no
try to
poll
get that in
on my
Brewing.
end.
I had asked who...
Because it's a YouTube poll, and I see the...
Okay, all right. We'll try to get to it later then.
I did a
No
Q&A
problem.
actually this week. I mixed it up. So
Okay.
I asked, who do you think will be the leading goal scorer for the entire tournament, including playoffs and the medal games?
Okay.
You could pick anybody in the
Any
world.
Bo Horvat selections out there?
I don't know about that. I mean, I guess you play it safe and go with a Canadian. I think for me, I think you got to go with like a McKinnon or Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby's going to light it up.
One last Olympic run?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I see that happening. I hate it. I hate it.
I don't know if it's going to be his last one the way he's going.
I know.
Seriously.
Yeah, he could play for another 20 years.
Yeah, found the youth.
I have a dark horse in it. I don't think he'll do it because I don't think he's going to get power play time. But Tage Thompson's my dark horse there. If they wind up going to the gold game, I think he's just a sneaky goal scorer. He's there to score goals and forecheck and play a physical game. I think he's got to look out for on US. I'm excited to see him get in the mix too, along with Clayton Keller.
I like the pick.
All right.
Now that will officially do it for the Snake Den. Great stuff, Jake. And now we're going to hang out with our pal Edzo. We're going to Questions
Well, it's
Brewing.
time for Isles Fix, Sean.
Oh my God, you're right.
It's time for Isles Fix.
Thank
Daytime
God.
is screwing everybody up.
Somebody is on point here because I'm clearly not. I had to change my sweater before. All right, Isles Country, get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at islesfix.substack.com. And
for
now,
Questions Brewing.
let us go to Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead, ask us a question.
Yes.
Yes, Ed,
We're
how
here.
are you doing,
There
man?
you are.
Good.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How are
we
you?
doing? Good.
Excellent.
We
Do
have a few questions.
Love it.
We
All
do,
right.
right.
So some people
We're
got
here.
up in the afternoon for us. I love that.
We're going to start with Chris from Long Island,
All right.
specifically Hicksville.
Okay.
He says, hey guys, if the Isles make the playoffs, it will probably come down to the bitter end. Isles' last 12 games are 10 at home. How big of a deal is that? Chris from Hicksville.
It's big.
It's a huge deal.
They haven't been lights out at home, so it's not as big a deal as you'd like it to be, but that would be a good time to go on a good run at UBS.
Their records are kind of mirrored both on home
Yeah.
and the road. They've pretty much done the same thing. So, I mean, you'd like to think that later in the season, some home ice advantage helps, but it had, like you said, it hasn't really been like they don't have that imbalance between 500 on the road and killing it at home. It's kind of just been like I think they're like maybe 6-7 games over 500 in both. So, hopefully, it means something later on, but it's tough to say if it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think travel-wise, that's maybe the biggest deal.
Yeah,
You're
for
not,
sure.
You're not popping out to go on a 2 or 3 or 4 game road trip. So being at home can be good, as long as they recognize it. And I think like Chris, the NL King on Twitter, he's always in the replies. I love it. They got to be able to recognize the moment because it's it would be a huge surprise if they come down to that last 12 game stretch and they're comfortably in a playoff spot. I feel like there's too many teams chasing them, so that's probably a good spot for them to be in because they do work a little bit better under pressure, it seems.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule from here on out when they get back, and they're cast right into the fire on the road against Montreal and Columbus.
Yeah,
and then March, April is no picnic whatsoever. I wouldn't say it's the hardest trek, but they got the California trip and they got some tough teams. I mean, if they get to the playoffs, they're going to earn it.
Yep, for sure.
Edzo.
DTMR, we talked about the power play before, but he said, could the power play be personal, not the system?
I think it is.
I mean,
a little bit of both. But
I mean, it's
same guys every year.
Didn't we talk about this right off the hop where we said if things go wrong with special teams, it's Patrick Waugh's team. Like,
yes,
we're not going to fire Ray Bennett. This is not a Scott Gomez situation all over again.
I think we know for certain now it's not the assistant coach, right?
Yeah. I power plays. I mean, I don't. It's hard to say really if what it can be, and
no idea.
can a coach change things up so much when you've got the guys that you've got?
Yeah.
You know, they miss Brock Nelson kind of being that shooter on the off wing. Obviously, Palmieri mentioned, I think he's the guy they miss the most now that it's kind of been pretty blah for the last couple months since he's been out.
Yeah.
They miss Brock Nelson, but again, it was bad when Brock Nelson was here too. I think the thing that they miss the most is a guy like Anders Lee, like prime Anders Lee, a guy in front of the net with really good hands. And it's not a criticism of Anders. He's just not what he used to be. He's an older guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't get those kinds of opportunities anymore. They just seem like they're always one piece away from having a really good power play. And like you mentioned, I think Barzal, can hurt them more than he helps them there sometimes by holding on to too many pucks and being a little too unpredictable. You need the players to feed off the guy who controls the puck a lot. I think it's got to be Matthew Schaefer from here on out to really have an effective power play. You look at the power plays that are good. Colorado's power play is actually quite bad considering the quality of players they have.
Yeah.
But you look at the good power plays like in Montreal where they've got Lane Hudson kind of running the point. When the Rangers are going well, Adam Fox controls the tempo. You need the quarterback, to run that. And Barzal, I think, needs to be more of kind of a system guy to fit into a spot because Matthew Schaefer, if it's not this year, it's going to be next year. The power play belongs to Matthew Schaefer. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a change there stylistically and maybe even personnel-wise where you give him the keys to it and we'll see if it works. And if it works, there's not really much of an argument for Matthew Barzal to be kind of disrupting that.
Yeah, and you used a key word here, and that's predictable. I think it's just painfully predictable where you have basically the perimeter passing and they're looking for that perfect pass typically to get to a guy like Horvat in front, right? Now, teams like Washington can get away with that with Alex Ovechkin because it works and the guy just knows where to put the puck whenever he puts it on the stick, right? But for whatever reason with the Islanders, they just seem so painfully loyal to this process that they have with this power play, and it's clearly not working. And for me, I just want to see more chaos. And by chaos, I mean fire some unexpected pucks, some unpredictable pucks towards the net. Like Schaefer's got a shot back there. Let him use it. And it just seems like they're really trying to force it in front of the net, but get some rebounds. And then maybe you see a power play rebirth from a guy like Lee if he's parked in front of the net, right? And you can get some of those garbage goals in front. But for me, it just seems like they're way too reliant on finding that perfect seam pass to the front. And it's clearly not working out for them. So just fire shots. What's the worst that can happen?
You saw some good chemistry between Cal Ritchie and Anthony Duclair for a little bit when it was going well when Duclair was super hot a couple weeks ago. And then Duclair goes a little cold because Ritchie's out. Like, when Ritchie comes back into the lineup, why would you take Duclair out? Why wouldn't you keep those guys together so you can have a little bit more of that power play magic? I just feel like there's always one decision or one guy where you're just like, maybe that wasn't the right call there, whether it's coaching, systems, guys on the ice. They're always just a little bit out of sync.
Agreed. Ed.
Jonathan Doe, he says, what value, if any, does Drouin or Duclair have in any possible trade for a forward? Man, I'd hate to see Duclair gone.
Yeah,
this much.
We just spent a good portion earlier about how they're struggling and not really contributing as much as you like. So which team is calling up Matthew Darsh and saying, hey,
what we need?
What can I give you for Duclair
that
and
guy
Drouin?
who just scratched, who's got 2 years left on his deal? Bring him on over.
What do you think, a second? Unfortunately, not much. No. So, I think that those are guys that are going to be, part of the roster. Whether they're on the ice every night is another question, especially if they bring somebody else in. But
I would say, sorry to cut you off, but I would say of the Islanders forwards that you could legitimately see people getting calls on, like, they're not trading Bo Horvat, they're not trading Matthew Barzal.
Right.
There's two guys. Matthew Darsh is getting calls on JG Pajot,
right,
and he's getting calls on Simon Holmstrom. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe Max Shabanoff. Maybe that's a change of scenery like they did with Siplikov.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see any of their other guys that are having tough years. Maybe Emil Heineman, but but again, Heineman and Holmstrom are young guys. You're not trading them.
Right? No.
So I don't see any of their other veterans getting a lot of interest.
So Darsh will be placing most of the calls, not receiving too many calls.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Ed.
One timer says, "Why so much rope with Drouin?"
We kind of said it, and we're sort of guessing there, but I think it's his versatility. I think it's his, the metrics kind of say he's not a negative when he's on the ice,
Right,
but I think the glaring mistakes, which Roy has punished other people for, seem like there should be some punishment coming for him.
We shall see.
Yeah. And pretty much we want to know what hat you're wearing, Arthur. And that'll wrap it up.
This is the California Golden Seals, way back, even before my time. I think they played in Oakland.
They did.
Yeah. Spawned a couple of guys that actually went on to play back east. I don't think any Islanders played for California way back, but Carol Vadnais was the only one, because I was a Ranger fan when I was a young lad, misguided, of course, but
yes, heavily.
He was the only guy I know that played in California, but they were the Seals. They were California. They were the Oakland Seals,
the Golden Seals.
But yeah, it's vintage.
And the owner at one point made them paint their skates white.
That's right.
Added a few pounds to the skating.
That's right. Charlie Finley, who was the Oakland A's owners,
right,
when they were in their heyday. The owners back then did some wacky stuff.
They still do, Arthur. They still
different vibes, but that was
that's up there. That's for sure. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up Questions Brewing with some questions here, talking about my favorite sport, foosball. Jake, I meant to ask you this during your segment, but you got a prediction for us tonight?
Yeah, I think that the Seahawks are going to win today. I mean,
okay,
I think they are. The Patriots are one of those teams that just always find a way to win, though.
Yes.
But I think Sam Darnold, Super Bowl MVP, book it. Maybe you'll be happy as a Jets fan. I don't know. They're beating the Patriots. But yeah, I'll go 28-23 Seattle.
Can we get a 28-25? Because those are the boxes I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
28-25.
I got a 7-5 and an 8-5. I heard that's not very good. Yeah, the 7's good.
35-17.
35-17. Yeah. Hey,
that's a
crazy things can happen. That's 2-point conversions. A safety happens. You never know. Right?
That's what I'm going for. Everything you just said.
Yes.
Arthur, what do you got?
I'll go with your numbers and say 75-7 for the Seahawks. I hate the Patriots, and I hope that they lose, and I hope it's embarrassing.
All right, holding nothing back. Edzo, I know you'll be watching. What do you got?
Well, I bet on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl like a month ago. So
okay.
It would be nice if they won.
Would it be nice?
Yeah, for my pockets, yeah.
Does anybody in New York want the Patriots to win?
No.
Right? Like, especially Jets fans?
Jets fans, Giants fans hate them because of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jets fans hate them because of the rivalry.
But, I've been a Giants fan.
So fast?
I've been a Giants fan, and I've watched the Giants throttle them twice. So, if the Giants aren't involved, I could,
I don't want them to be.
We did our business there.
I thought after Tom Brady left, they would finally have some, time in the dumps here. But, they're already back.
I don't hate the Patriots as a Giants fan because, like Ed said, that they beat them twice. But
it's like,
it seems unfair that
what's there to hate?
Dynasty is already back.
What's going on here? What's going on with the NFL? But
I'll tell you when we're off the air. Ed.
Yeah, okay.
Most importantly,
I know there's a lot.
Jay Belsky, I know you can't wait for the game tonight. So what's your prediction? Who's gonna win the MVP?
I think he said he'd rather be asleep.
He's gonna be asleep on the couch again as soon as it starts.
Jay just said Kenneth Walker MVP. Book it.
Is that right? There we go. All right. He has no idea.
Definitely knows that guy. Yeah.
All right, well, that was fun. I don't have a prediction, but I'm with you guys. I hope Seattle wins, and I hope the commercials are great, because the truth is, I'll probably be paying more attention.
There's some big trailers today, too, I believe.
What's that?
Out. Some big movie trailers, I believe, coming out.
Is that right?
Marvel. I know Marvel was mentioned
Doomsday?
before, so some Doomsday stuff.
Okay.
Perfect day for MF Doom.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
All right.
Doom unto others.
Doom unto others. I like it.
Others.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Questions Brewing, our special Super Bowl edition of Questions Brewing and Hockey Night New York, presented by Ownwell. Ed, you can cue that music, man. All right, so a big thanks to all of you for tuning in here for a afternoon edition of Hockey Night New York, presented by Ownwell. And of course, a big thanks to our sponsor, starting with Ownwell, official sponsor of the New York Islanders. Reduce your property taxes at ownwell.com/HNINY. That's right, go over there, sign up, and tell them that Hockey Night in New York sent to you. And of course, a huge thanks to Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW 1500 for a free consultation. And folks, if you haven't already, do us a special favor and rate, review, and subscribe. That helps us out a lot, and it makes us feel good, assuming the review is nice. Arthur Staple, where can we find you?
Stape NHL on Twitter. I'm also on Blue Sky and Daily Faceoff. Face-Off, Tri-State Hockey Report.
There you have it. I am also on Twitter and Blue Sky at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show on all social media platforms at Hockey Night NY. You can check out the website at hockeynightny.com. Jake the Snake Radonis, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jake Radonis, Radonis.
Very good. Excellent. You know how to spell your last name. That is fantastic.
I figured it out.
All right, folks. So once again, we are going to be back at Borelli's Tap Room on Sunday. Pre-game show at 2. Puck drop 3:10 for USA versus Leon Draisaitl and the Germans. So come hang out with us. Going to have a lot of fun there. Lots of people coming down. Food specials, drink specials, prizes, raffles, all that good stuff. Come on down and hang out with us. And that's going to do it. So for Arthur Staple, for Jake the Snake Radonis, for Edzo and Jay on the other side, I've been Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night in New York. We will see you at Borelli's.